Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss the next topic that is given in your textbook, and the name of the topic is transfer of heat. In the earlier class we have discussed about heat. Now how this heat is transferred in the objects. So we'll be discussing about that. The modes of transfer of heat. Okay, so let us begin. Heat always flows from a hotter object to a colder object. Now, to understand this, let us think of an example. Say we are boiling the water in a pan. So, as soon as the pan is kept on the stove, or we can say on the stove, yes. So there what happens is that slowly the vessel or the pan, you can say, gets heated up. Now why does this happen? Because the flame, the fire flame that is just below the pan heats up this object. Clear? Now as soon as we remove it from the stove and keep it aside, we can see that after some time it slowly becomes cold. Now why this phenomenon happens? This phenomenon happens because there is a transfer of heat. In the earlier case, the heat was transferred from the burning flame to the pan, and in the next case the heat was transferred from the hot pan towards to the nearby surroundings. As a result of this, there was a temperature difference. So the object was hot before and then it became cold. Clear? So there is a transfer of heat. Now this process by which heat is transferred from the hotter to the colder end of the object is known as conduction. This whole process of heating up and then again cooling, again heating up. So this whole process of heating and cooling and the transfer of heat from the object to the surrounding and from the surrounding to the object, whole process is known as conduction. Clear? Now, in the case of solid objects, generally heat is transferred by the process of conduction. Now, generally, while heating up the solid objects, say the pan, I have taken the example of pan, or any other solid objects, say metallic objects, or any such objects which are solid in nature. So there the heat is generally transferred by this process of conduction. This conduction can be considered as a mode of transfer of heat. There are also other modes. We will come to that later on. So this conduction generally occurs in all the solid objects. Clear? Now next point is the materials which allows heat to pass through them easily are known as conductors of heat. So among these solid objects also, there are some objects which allows the heat to pass through them. That's why these objects gets heated up, and they are known as what? They are known as conductors. For example, aluminium, iron, copper, all these are what? These are generally metals. Also they are solid objects, not liquid or any other fluid. So these solid objects help in the conduction of the heat, you can say, or the passing of the heat through them. As a result of which, if we say cook in an iron vessel or in an aluminium vessel and we place it in the stove, it quickly heats up. Clear? So why this heats up? Because they are good conductors, or you can say conductors of heat. Now also there are some materials which do not allow the heat to pass through them. So they are what? They are poor conductors. Poor conductors are also known as insulators. So have you ever noticed that in a pan, the rest of the part is metallic, but the handle is made up of a material which does not allows it to heat up? Right? So why is this given? So that while holding the pan, there is no problem for the person to hold it, because the pan will get heated up after some time. So to hold it properly, so that we don't get the heat in our hand, these are made of such a material, which are also called the insulators, so that the heat doesn't reaches our hand, even though the whole vessel is heated up. The handle of the vessel is made up of some poor conductors of heat. For example, the plastic or wood, and the one nowadays is used is bakelite. It is also a poor conductor of heat. This is actually, you can say, mixed product of plastics and some other fiber objects. So these are generally made of such things which does not conduct the heat, so that we can hold the vessel properly. Clear? What are insulators? Now moving on, water and air medium are poor conductors of heat. Water and air are poor conductors of heat. Now then you might be thinking why the water boils and why the air gets heated up during summers. Now although they are poor conductors of heat, that doesn't mean that they completely doesn't allow the heat to pass through them. They do pass the heat through them, but not by the process of conduction. It is done through some different process. So let us see what is that process. It is known as convection. Water gets heated up by the process known as convection. It's a bit different than that from conduction. This is also a mode of transfer of heat. So let us see what is convection. According to definition, you can see when fluid like water and air, both are fluids. The liquids and the gases together can be considered as a fluid. So water and air are fluids, and when they get heated and then travel away from the source, it carries thermal energy along. This type of heat transfer is known as convection. Now I know from the definition nothing is clear to you, because there are some terms used like thermal energy, then heated up, and then traveling. What is all this? So let me make it clear with the help of the process itself. So say in the case of water, say we are heating up water, or you can say boiling water in a pan or any vessel. So what happens is that when we heat that object or the pan, you can say, then the lower portion of the vessel, you can see there are bubbles coming out. That means that lower portion starts heating up, but the surrounding portion of the pan or the surrounding water does not get heated up that quickly. The lower portion of the water medium gets heated up. Now what happens is that as soon as it gets heated up, the water starts turning into water vapor. Then as soon as that water vapor rises up, the surrounding water, it slowly slides downwards near the source of the this heat, and then that portion of the water gets heated up. Again same thing occurs, it gets converted into water vapor. Now this process continues until and unless whole of the water in the pan gets completely heated up. Then you can see the water starts boiling. Initially the whole of the water was not boiling, only a few bubbles were coming out from the bottom of the pan, because at the bottom the heat source is there. Clear? So that's all is written here. You can see in case of water, when convection occurs, the hot water rises up, the cold water from the sides move downwards towards the source of the heat. The water also gets hot and rises, and the water from the sides move downwards, and this whole process continues till the whole of the water gets heated up. So it can be considered as a cyclic process. One activity is also given in your textbook, where a conical flask is being heated, which is filled with water. So you can go through that also. There is a good activity to understand convection in water. Now similarly, the same convection process occurs in case of air. So let us see what happens in air. Air also same thing. When we heat up the air, Then since air is much lighter than water also, so as soon as the air gets heated up, it goes up, you can say, or the hot air rises. Just like the when the hot air rises, you can say the cloud formation, which you have learned in the last class, that is in class 6. There is also a kind of a similar process, although there it was evaporation. But if we consider just as it is composed of it, if it is composed of air only, then this air, the hot air, it always rises up. So when the air is heated, the nearby, or you can say one best example for convection in this air, the best example is if you place a candle. This activity is also given in your textbook. So if you place a candle, you can say this candle is heating up the air. Which air? The air just above it. If you place your hand above the candle, you feel hot. But if you place your hand on the sideways of the candle, you don't feel that much of heat. Why this happens? Because during convection of air, the air which is just above the heat source, it gets heated up quickly. Then what happens? Same thing like in case of water. As soon as it gets heated up, it rises above, and the surrounding air comes in the place of the earlier situation. So the surrounding air, it comes near the heat source, and again it gets heated up. So this similar fashion of cyclic process continues until whole of the air in the container or in the room gets totally heated up, and then we say that the whole of the room is hot. Or you can say during summers also this thing happens. Here the heat source is, and during the summers the heat source can be considered as the sun. So whole of the area gets heated up. So in this way, the convection occurs in the case of air as well as in the case of water. So 2 examples I have already given. You can try it up at home, although take precautionary measures. So I hope you all have understood today's topic. You can go through your textbook, you can go through the activities. If you want to try it at home, you can try it out, but do take precautionary measures. Always be careful. So that's it. I hope you all have understood it clearly. So thank you and have a nice day.